Tell us your name, please.
My name is Andrew Gillespie,
Could you please spell your last name for our court reporter?
Gillespie.
Thank you. You may inquire, Mr. Law.
May it please the court. Can I have your full name? What is your occupation?
I am a sergeant with the City of Orlando Police Department.
And how long have you been with the Orlando Police Department?
Nearly 14 years.
And on the night of June 4th, 2015, what was the area that you were working?
I was the supervisor for the downtown policing district, the downtown bike section.
I'm sorry, on that night, were you the supervisor in charge of the investigation of the case with Officer Cruz, Officer Mays, and Noel Carter?
I was the supervisor for that area, yes, sir.
And were you involved in the investigation of Noel Carter?
In his investigation?
Yeah.
No, sir.
Were you there that night after he was down at the curb to...
Oh, yes, sir. I responded to the scene, yes, sir.
Okay. And as a result of this case, did you prepare reports concerning the issues that happened that evening?
Yes, sir, I did.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to define Sergeant Gillespie as an adverse witness to lead him.
Any objection from the state?
Yes, Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
Police Court.
Yes.
Sergeant Gillespie, on the night of June 4th, did you go down to the scene in front of the Orlando Sentinel where Noel Carter was, as well as Officer Cruz and Officer Mays?
Yes, sir, I did.
And on that night, did other officers come there?
Yes, sir, there were other officers.
You were the supervisor of that scene that night, correct?
Yes, sir.
At that point, you had some interaction with Mr. Carter. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir, I did.
And when you're in your discussions with Mr. Carter, when you would talk to him, he stated to you that he's.
Objection calls for hearsay.
Sustained.
When you talked to Mr. Carter, did he say certain things to you?
Yes, sir, he did.
Okay. At that point, was he handcuffed?
Yes, sir, he was.
Okay. At some point, were fire rescue called to look at his handcuffs?
I honestly can't remember. It was not at the scene, though.
At the Orlando bike office, were fire rescue called to look at his handcuffs?
I honestly can't remember. I would not be surprised if that happened.
Okay, you wouldn't be, because that sometimes happens when handcuffs are on too tight.
Well, yes, sir,
You're familiar with the taser, correct?
absolutely.
How many volts of electricity does the tasers that Officer Cruz and Officer Mays were using at night distribute?
It's 50,000 volts,
And how many times can you recycle that?
infinitely.
And in terms of that, when the prongs go in and if they initially go in, they send that initial force of taser electricity, correct?
Basically,
Yeah,
can
go
I
ahead,
explain?
Yeah.
What happens is it has two prongs, and they shoot out of the front of the cartridge. Assuming it works, it goes into the suspect, and then the electricity flows through, making a circuit from the one prong to the other prong through the body.
Okay. At some point in this case, you saw photos of the injuries to Mr. Carter's hands and wrists from the handcuffs. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
After you left the downtown bike area with him, did you ever see Mr. Carter again when he was transported to the jail?
After he left the bike office, I had no further interaction with him.
And that night, did you go back to the scene of Club Venue 578?
I'm sorry, at what point?
Oh, I'm sorry. After they left with Mr. Carter, Officer Weaver took Mr. Carter away, correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
And at that point, did you go down to Club Venue 578?
Yes, sir, I did.
And at that point, did you interact with Officer Cruz and Officer Mays?
Yes, I interacted with them at the scene in front of the Sentinel, and then I went back to the club.
Did you ask them to go into Club 578 and look at the videos?
Yes, sir, I did.
Do you know if they did?
They left. I was told they did. I have no reason to doubt it.
Do you know upon going to Club Venue 578 on June 4th, 2015, if any videos were produced from what happened that evening?
At that time?
At that time, on June 4th.
At that time, I did not have any information on video from 578.
That night, part of your investigation is to take photos, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
You took photos of Mr. Carter.
Yes, sir, I did.
You took photos of Officer Cruz and Gillespie.
Not Gillespie, because that's me.
Excuse me, Cruz and Mays.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Sergeant Gillespie, I'm going to show you defendant's exhibit Q, P, and O.
Yes, sir.
Once you take a look at those, could you just look up? Do you recognize those photos?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what are those photos show?
Those photos show the defendant at the scene in front of the Sentinel. It also shows Officers Cruz and Mays, both the night of the scene, at the scene, and some photos of Officer Cruz, I believe, the next day.
The one of Officer, I think I have.
longer.
Yes.
They're not in evidence yet, so we should have the
Oh,
jury.
Your Honor, this time I'd like to move to evidence, defendants, I think it's O, when they approach.
Yes. Any objection?
No objection.
Okay. Defendants exhibits O, P, and Q will be received as defendants numbers 1, 2, and 3.
I have here a blow-up for photographs. Are those a true and accurate depiction of the photos that you've taken of Officer Mays and Officer Cruz?
Yes, sir, they are.
And the photo to the far right here, that is the scrape on Officer Cruz's knee, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
Picture to the left is, that top one is a picture of Officer Cruz that evening, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
Picture to the lower right is a picture of Officer Mays that evening.
Yes, sir, it is.
Is your testimony the picture to, on the left lower portion, the picture of Officer Cruz, a day later?
I think it's a day, or I'm fairly certain it was a day.
For this jury's understanding and your understanding, the only injury that Officer Cruz had from that evening was a scrape to his leg.
As I recall, yes, sir.
Well, if there's any other photographs, you were taking pictures of, correct?
Absolutely.
And the same thing with Officer Mays is that he had scrapes on his right knee.
Objection, lack of personal knowledge.
Bill Cruelty can testify to the extent that he observed it.
You took these pictures, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
You visualized the injury to Officer Mays, correct?
Yes, sir.
You saw what his injuries were, that's why you died.
Yes, sir.
And your job investigating is to document injuries to the officer.
Part of it, yes, sir.
And this is all the injuries that you saw to those two officers that evening.
And what they inform me of.
Showing you your 4 photos, do you agree those are true and accurate depiction of some of the photos that you have and have been into evidence that you took that evening?
Yes, sir, they are.
The one to start at the top left, that's a depiction of Mr. Carter sitting on the curb immediately after his arrest. That is, after the incident happened on the officer.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
And you can see that he has wires coming out of it. What are those from?
Those are from the taser.
And do you know where those prongs go into?
Each of those individual wires,
You know what? You can see them, but I can't see where the actual prongs are. Are they still in Mr. Carter's body?
yes, they are.
In fact, when you first got there, Officer Mays was still standing there with his taser with the cartridge in it, correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
So he could still have issued another cycle. So what did you do?
Well, I told him to take the cartridge off.
And did you take the cartridge off?
He did.
And who collected the cartridge?
I believe the officers did. I did not.
Okay. And did you document in your reports those cartridges?
The cartridge numbers?
Yes.
Yes, sir, I did.
Sir, do you remember what the numbers were to the cartridges?
I have no idea.
Is there something I could show you to refresh your memory?
My response to resistance report?
The response resistance report dealing with the cartridges? Would that help you in identifying the actual cartridge numbers?
I'd have to look at the whole thing to find
Sure.
it inside there.
Okay, I have a... approach the witness.
Yes.
Sergeant Gillespie, I want you to look at what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit Friday, CE and Victor. When you're done looking at that, please look up. What I'm going to address you is the issues of the cartridges that were collected. And if you find documents in there that can give you those numbers, just let me know.
Yes, sir.
Okay. For Officer Mays, can you tell me the two taser cartridges number?
For some reason, I don't have them. I don't know why.
Okay.
I did not memorialize them. I don't know why.
Okay, how about with Officer Cruz?
Yes, sir.
What are those numbers?
C Charlie 4103 V Victor 56H Hotel, and C Charlie 4103 C Charlie E Echo 80.
Okay, and that's in part of your report?
Yes, sir. It's documented here.
Thank you. Just please keep that up there. I may have other questions about that.
Okay.
Let's go over some more of these photographs.
Yes, sir.
You see the photograph to the far right. Is that a prong in the left side of Mr. Carter's back?
The glares.
Sure, sorry. You have the photos there.
Oh, I'll just look at mine. Okay, that makes it easier.
Sure. Thank you.
The ones you gave me didn't. It's not on there. But that is the left, looks like the left middle back.
Okay, counsel approach for a second. Yes, absolutely.
Sergeant Gillespie, do you have any other photographs with you that you took that night?
No, sir. I brought no video, no photos.
Well, nothing. You did take other photos, correct?
Yes, sir.
I'll move on, Your Honor.
Okay.
Sergeant Gillespie, after taking photographs of the persons and you went back to Club Venue 578, did you have any other involvement that evening on June 4th concerning this incident?
That evening?
Yeah.
May I explain what I did that evening?
Sure, go ahead.
What I did was I went to the scene, spoke with the suspect, spoke with the officers in front of the Sentinel, went back, spoke with them again at 578, and then at that point, my investigation for the time being was complete until I could gather the video evidence and things like that.
And part of the responsibilities of the officers are to prepare an arrest affidavit, correct?
That is correct.
And that arrest affidavit is to outline the charges that are against the person that was arrested.
Yes, sir. It's to determine or to outline the probable cause for arrest for each of the charges.
And you've had an opportunity to look at that document after Officer Cruz prepared it?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. And in that document, there is a ending, a little area at the end say that it's not complete.
Objection, hearsay.
Counselor French.
Your Honor, I'll rephrase. Did you tell Officer Cruz to not completely finish the affidavit till he looked at surveillance video?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
You can answer.
The charging affidavit?
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay. You never told him to not complete it till surveillance video is complete?
The charging affidavit?
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay. Is there something I could show you that would show that you did do that?
Objection, Your Honor, to improper impeachment.
Sustained.
Move
rephrase.
on. At some point, then who instructed them to go and look at the video at Club Venue 578 that night?
I did.
Okay, so you did instruct them to go look at video, correct?
Absolutely.
Is it you're saying you didn't tell them not to complete it till you look at it? Why did you go have them look at the video Club 578?
Because I wanted the most accurate and truthful representation of the case.
And that's your whole goal, to get the most accurate and truthful representation of the case, correct?
Absolutely.
And you would agree that video showing any parts of the incident would absolutely lead you to that accurate and truthful presentation of the case, correct?
That is correct.
Let's talk about your involvement the next day.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sir, the next day, you went over to the Orlando Sentinel to look as you were searching for video. Is that
Yes, sir,
accurate?
I did.
And you actually went there and sat down with a security officer to look at video. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
And you actually saw video of this incident that evening, correct?
I don't remember if at that time if I could actually see what was going on.
Let me rephrase the question.
Sure.
When you sat down with Lance Willingham, security officer for Orlando Sentinel,
Okay.
okay, he brought up video from the camera on the Orlando Sentinel area, which showed the grainy video, which showed Officer Mays and Cruz having a confrontation with Mr. Carter. You saw that on the afternoon of June 4th, correct? June 5th, excuse me.
I don't think I did.
Do you remember giving a statement to an agent outlining that you actually did see it and you saw a scuffle?
Objection, improper impeachment.
Have you-
Counselor French, please.
Sergeant Gillespie,
Yes, sir.
is there anything I could have you listen to that would refresh your memory about what you did say about what you saw at the Orlando Sentinel that day?
If you have some sort of media that I could look at, that would be, or listen to, that would be great.
Sure, Your Honor, may I present audio as to his statement?
Counselor French, please. Members of the jury, we're going to take a short recess at this time. Please remember to leave your notepads on the chair as you exit. Please also remember not to discuss the case amongst yourselves or conduct the investigation of your own. You're excused. Jury.
Jurors are exiting.
All right, you may be seated, everyone. You may proceed, Mr. Paul.
Yes, ma'am. I want you to pull it up, Your Honor.
Sure.
Dr. Gillespie, I'm going to
Yes,
play
sir.
this. Do you remember giving a statement to FDLE officer Brent and other agents? Just him. I'm going to play this for you, just refreshing your memory.
Sure.
What happened that you saw at the Orlando Sentinel?
And talked to their security, informed me that most of their video no longer works because since they've gotten so much smaller, they don't have the need, and also that they have problems maintaining it. So I sat by the video that showed up from recently from the Sentinel, which is that grainy where it's the top right where you see them wrestling around a little bit. I saw that, but basically I couldn't tell from where I was standing that there was anything on there. Those guys weren't really adept at figuring out how to download it. And unfortunately, it was Friday at probably 4:30 in the afternoon. And like anywhere else, everybody probably knows how to do it. It's gone for the day. I couldn't see anything on their video. I went back to the cameras or over to where the incident occurred. That's the content of the discussion.
Okay.
And just before kicking jury out, Sergeant Gillespie, listening to that audio, does that refresh your memory about what you did at the Orlando Sentinel the next day, June 5th, what you actually saw?
I would still maintain that what I just said in that statement was that I saw the video of the scene which later showed up, but I couldn't see anything.
You said you saw a scuffle.
No, I didn't say that.
You didn't say in this thing that you saw a scuffle or some type of interaction.
I said, because you hear at the end what I said was that I couldn't tell anything of what was going on.
Can I play it again, John?
That's what I, pardon me, that's what I feel I'm trying to say in that. Problems maintaining it. So I sat by the video that showed up from recently from the Sentinel, which is that grainy where it's the top right corner. You see them wrestling around a little bit.
You're right there. You
Yes,
said
sir.
see them wrestling around a little bit.
What I'm referring to is the video that showed up in the Sentinel later.
Right, the grainy video.
Right.
Yeah.
I see it then. I didn't see it at the beginning. If you listen a little further, what I'm saying is I didn't see anything.
You're telling us that you didn't see grainy video?
We're talking about two different times.
Okay, I'll rephrase it.
Okay. Because I saw the video when I saw it in the Sentinel.
Okay.
Sure, I mean, it's 2 weeks later. At the end, they had blown it up and shown that little corner.
Come on. Rephrase it. I'm asking you the day after this.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true that you went there and said that you saw the video with the person at the Orlando Sentinel? And you saw the same grainy video that came out a couple weeks later, or a few days later, you had seen the same thing on June 5th.
I saw the same video feed. I did not see the scuffle when I saw it that day, because if I had, I would have collected the video.
All set, Mr. Lawler?
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring the jury back. All right, welcome back, everyone. You may be seated. You may continue, Mr. Lawler.
May it please the court?
Yes.
Sergeant Gillespie, you had a chance to listen to the audio of the interview you gave about 2 weeks after this incident. Did that refresh your memory about what you saw when you went to the Orlando Sentinel security office on the afternoon of June 5th, 2015?
Yes, sir.
Okay, would you agree when you went there and sat down with the Orlando security officer that you actually saw the grainy video that ultimately came out about 4 or 5 days after this incident? You saw that video and what was going on there on that day, June 5th.
Are you saying that did I see the incident between the officers and Mr. Carter?
Yes.
I could not see that at that time on that video.
Did you see something going on in that video?
I'm telling you, I couldn't see anything.
So you're saying the same video that came out in the Graney video about the 5 or 6 days later, you saw the same thing on June 5th, but you didn't see anything?
Objection, asked and answered.
Overruled.
Yes, sir, that's correct. I did not see after, when I said, let me say this. I went and looked at it because I wanted to find any video I could find of this incident. I went there, asked them about it, looked at the video feed of that camera from the far side of the Sentinel parking lot, and I could not see anything going on.
That's the same video that Ulta came out that Orlando Sentinel produced.
Sure.
And you prepared a report in this case, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
And in that report, did you indicate that,
Objection, hearsay.
Counsel, please.
I'll rephrase it, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
After looking at that video, did you ever indicate that upon looking at the Orlando Sentinel video, that it did not show anything from the incident?
Are you talking about on June 5th?
Yes, June 5th. Did you say the Orlando Sentinel did not have any video of the incident?
If I can look at my report,
Absolutely. May I approach you?
I think I have it here.
Yeah, look in your narrative, and it's the 4th paragraph from the bottom.
Yes, I see it. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll ask you the question again. Did you conclude that the Orlando Sentinel did not have any video of the incident?
Based on my investigation at that time, I had concluded the Sentinel had no video.
After doing your investigation at the scene, let's back up a minute. The morning of June 5th, you actually were contacted by the public information officer for the Orlando Police Department, correct?
Yes, sir, I was.
It was at that time that you learned that a video came.
Objection calls for hearsay.
Sustained, rephrase.
Yes. There come a time on the morning of June 5th that you learned that there was a video showing, a balcony video showing an interaction between Officer Cruz, Mays, and Mr. Carter on a curb in front of the Orlando Sentinel?
Yes, sir, I did.
And was that video sent to you that morning?
Yes, sir, it was.
And did you look at that video the morning of June 5th?
Yes, sir, I did.
And for the benefit in this, my questioning, this is all stuff that happened on June 5th. So when I talk to you and all these questions coming up, it's all June 5th.
Okay.
All right? So you looked at that video. Upon looking at that video, what did you do next?
The PIO sent it to me, asked me if I knew about Officer Cruz delivering the kicks, and I said I knew about that, and because he had told me the night before.
And based upon that, were you requested to go down and do an investigation by trying and gather in video evidence?
I was told to come in and complete the investigation.
Okay. My question to you was, did you go down to the scene and attempt to gather video evidence after getting the call from your PIO and looking at the video?
Not from her, but I was told by our command staff to do so.
You were told by Captain Eld?
Yes, sir.
And is he your immediate supervisor?
He is not. He is, at the time, he was 2 levels above me.
Okay, and he's located at the OPD headquarters in downtown Orlando.
Yes, sir.
So at that point, you went down to the scene and began your investigation.
Yes, sir, I did.
You had another officer with you, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
Who was that? What was that officer's name?
That's Officer Richard Carpenter.
Okay. And at that point, did you contact Officer Cruz and Mays about this video?
I think shortly thereafter.
And did
I'm sorry, about the video?
yeah,
Are you talking about the video that made the news?
yeah, the balcony video. We'll call it the balcony video of him kicking Mr. Carter.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you talk to them that day about that video?
I think I told them it was in the news.
Okay. So you talked to them that day about that
Yes,
video?
sir.
Okay. Did you discuss with them the fact that you were down there investigating to see if there's other videos?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. Did you talk to them that Captain Eld wanted you and then to get the reports done by that day?
Objection, hearsay.
I'll rephrase. Okay. Did you talk about getting those your reports done that day?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
You can answer.
I told them to complete their field incident reports.
As well as you prepare that day your response to resistance report.
Yes, sir.
Upon going down there, did you ever meet with the representative for Club Venue 578?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what was his name?
I don't know.
Was it the general manager, do you know?
Honestly, I can't remember who it was.
And is it your position that when you met with him that you went up and gathered video showing some type of stuff at the club that day?
I found one video feed that was working.
So your position in the jury that day is on June 5th, a member of the club venue took you into their building, looked at the video, and you were given video from that day on June 5th.
Yes, a very small clip.
And then with that video, were you requested to go over to the Orlando Police Department headquarters?
Yes, sir, I was.
And at that time, you went over there and you met with Captain Eld?
Yes, sir, I did.
And then you and him went up to Chief Meenan's office?
Objection, can we approach?
Yes?
Sir, on the afternoon of June 5th, after that afternoon, you went and finished your response to resistance,
Yes, sir, I did.
okay? As well as your understanding that Officer Cruz and Officer Mays finished their response, finished their supplemental or narrative reports.
Yes, sir.
And you had a chance to look at those reports?
Yes, sir, I did.
And would you agree that there was a series of emails that went back and forth between you and Officer Mays and Officer Cruz?
Yes, sir.
May I- Do you recall the emails and the times that they were sent?
No, sir.
Is there anything I could show you to refresh your memory as to when you sent them and to whom?
I presume the emails.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may. That's fine.
Is it all right if I stand? I'm showing you what has been marked as defendant identification I, and I'm just going to show you individual one. I'm going to show you this document. Tell me, do you recognize this document?
That's going to...
Can you recognize the document?
Yes, sir.
Does that refresh your memory that you sent an email on June 5th to David Cruz concerning the venue 5?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Does this refresh your memory that you sent an email to Officer Cruz on June 5th?
This doesn't.
That does not.
See, I'm the 2. He sent it.
Okay, about that.
Okay.
That Officer Cruz sent an email to you on June 5th.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you the next document. Is that refresh your memory that you sent an email to Officer Mays on June 5th?
Is that still saving the part of defendant's exhibit I?
Yeah, it's all composite.
Okay, thank you, that's fine.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to show you another one that you sent another email to Charles Mays later on June 5th. Is that refresh your memory?
Yes, sir.
And then there was another email sent by you to David Cruz later on June 5th. Does that refresh your memory? 2 pages ago.
Yes, sir.
And then you sent another email to David Cruz even later on June 5th. I apologize.
Yes, sir.
So does this refresh your memory that you sent multiple emails to Officer Mays and Officer Cruz, as well as Officer Cruz sending you an email on the afternoon and early evening of June 5th?
Yes, sir, it does.
Take care. Do you recall sending emails or receiving emails from David Cruz on June 8th?
Not off the top of my head.
Is there something I can show you to refresh your memory?
An email.
I have here Defendant's Exhibit J for identification purposes. I'm going to show you, does this refresh your memory that you received an email from David Cruz on June 8th?
Yes, sir.
Does this refresh your memory that you received an email from David Cruz on June 9th?
Yes, sir.
Does this refresh your memory that you sent an email to David Cruz on June 17th?
Yes, sir.
And does this refresh your memory that you sent an email to David Cruz later that evening on June 17th?
Yes, sir, thank you.
I showed you a series of emails. After looking at them, they refresh your memories that starting June 8th through June 17th that you sent emails to David Cruz and he sent some back to you.
Yes, sir.
One second, Your Honor. You're familiar with the dating violence policies, dating violence investigation policies for Orlando Police Department?
Objection, relevance.
Counsel Prime.
Your Honor, that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Any questions from the state?
Yes, Your Honor, it's left. Good morning, Sergeant Gillespie.
Ma'am?
Sergeant Gillespie, isn't it true that it was your role to complete the response to resistance report?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And that you were the supervisor on duty that night?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And I want to clarify something about that Orlando Sentinel video. You testified on direct that when you went to the Orlando Sentinel on June 5th, 2015, you sat with one of the security officers and watched video, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
Yes, ma'am.
I beg your pardon. I apologize. I apologize. It's little rote memory.
And what video did you watch?
I watched every feed I could find from their video system, including a video of, I think it's the south parking lot with a camera facing west.
And it was your testimony on direct that when you watched that video, you couldn't see anything on June 5th, 2015, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But that you did, in fact, have the chance to see a similar video later on the news.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was a video, to your understanding, that the Orlando Sentinel put out.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know if they altered that video in any way, if they enhanced it?
I have no idea what they did.
And when you saw it later, a few days, isn't it true that you could see the altercation?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you put in your report that the Orlando Sentinel did not have any video, did that mean they didn't have any relevant video?
Well, they didn't have any video that I could use to complete my response to resistance investigation.
So it's not that they didn't have any video to show you at all. They just didn't have any video that you could see on June 5th showing this incident.
They didn't have any video I could see that was going to either prove or disprove what officers Cruz and Mays had reported to me.
Now, Sergeant Gillespie, you're not usually the supervisor for Officer Cruz and Officer Mays, correct?
No, ma'am, I'm not their direct supervisors.
But because Officer Cruz and Officer Mays were working off duty in your sector, you're the supervisor of that incident.
Yes, ma'am.
Sergeant Gillespie, is it uncommon or unusual to have emails back and forth between officers when you're the supervisor of a case?
No, ma'am.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Sergeant Gillespie, I'm showing you what's been pre-marked as States P for identification purposes only. It's a composite photographs. Can you take a look at all the photographs and tell me if you recognize them?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Did you take these photographs?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And are these photographs of Noel Carter on the night of June 4th, 2015?
Yes, ma'am, they are.
And do these photos fairly and accurately represent Noel Carter on that night?
Yes, ma'am, they do.
At this time, the state would move it as pre-marked as States P for identification purposes only into evidence as states.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, State's Exhibit P for identification received as State's number 12.
Permission to publish?
You may.
defendant's physique that night?
Yes, ma'am.
How would you describe it?
I think he's fit.
Can you take a look behind you at one of the photos that has been introduced evidence in state and public health? Is that a fair and accurate representation of the way Mr. Carter looked on that night?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
And how would you compare Mr. Carter's physique to that of Officer Cruz and Officer Mays?
Sustained.
Are you familiar with Officer Cruz's physique?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Man, I even wore my hair down. Have you seen Officer Cruz?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
And what about Officer Mays? Are you familiar with his physique?
Yes, ma'am.
And based on your having the chance to observe both Officer Cruz and Officer Mays' physique as well as the defendant's, are you able to compare the defendant's physique to that of Officer Cruz and Officer Mays?
Yes, ma'am.
And how would you compare that?
Officer Cruz is also fit. They're both, Mr. Carter and Officer Cruz are both physically fit, muscular people. Officer Mays is older. He's skinnier and taller.
Do you know whether the defendant was taller than Officer Cruz?
Not off the top of my head, I don't.
No further questions.
Any redirect?
The photo that was just shown to you. This photo here that we just showed, is that the one of the puncture wounds from the prong away into his chest?
Yes, sir.
Members of the jury, do you have any questions of the witness? If so, please raise your hand. All right, sir, if you would write your question down and hand it to the deputy. Counsel, approach, please. Okay, Officer,
Ma'am.
Sergeant, I'm sorry, we do have another question for you. Is standard operating procedure for the officers to remove taser prongs from an individual or for fire rescue to be dispatched to remove?
Typically, we do it ourselves. The policy indicates that if it's on a woman's breasts or in the face or eyes or something that could be much more harmful, we don't actually, fire rescue never touches them. We take them to the hospital and the hospital removes them. But if it's just in the chest, back, arms, legs, something like that, we remove them ourselves and we're trained to do so.
All right, members of the jury, the remaining question will not be asked of the witness. Mr. Lawler, any further questions related to the jury's questions?
Sergeant Gillespie, it was Officer Weaver who removed the prongs, correct?
I think so.
And there was about four prongs removed?
I believe so.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the state?
Just one. Just to be clear, you weren't the one that removed the prongs, correct?
No, I don't remove them. I take pictures.
So when you say just about 4, is that a guess?
Yeah, because I honestly can't remember.
Could it have been more?
It might have been.
No further questions.
Members of the jury, any further questions of the witness? If so, please raise your hand. All right, I see no hands. Thank you, sir. You're free to leave.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I just leave these here? Or what would you
Yes, Mr. Lawler, if you would collect the exhibits from the witness, please.
I can take them.
Yes.
Your Honor, am I excused?
Yes, I believe you are.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, will counsel approach, please? All right, defense, you may call your next witness.
At this time, the defense calls Lance Willingham.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I will.
Hello, sir, you may be seated. Tell us your name, please.
William Lance Willingham,
Would you please spell your last name for our court reporter?
Willingham.
Thank you. You may inquire.
Yes, may it please the court. Counselor. Mr. Willingham, whom are you presently employed with?
The Orlando Sentinel,
And what is your occupation there?
a facility manager and security manager as well.
And how long have you been with the Orlando Sentinel?
16 years.
And as a security officer, do you have responsibilities in terms of the security system, the surveillance system?
I'm not a security officer. I manage the department.
Okay, you manage the audio video department?
I manage the security division,
Okay,
which houses the security cameras.
so you're familiar with the security cameras at the Orlando Sentinel?
Absolutely.
And are you familiar with the ability to watch a video and burn a disc for it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's something you've done in the past?
Yes, sir.
And have you been doing that for the 16 years that you're employed there?
Seems that way. Yes, sir.
Okay. You're familiar with this case involving Mr. Carter?
Yes, sir.
This happened on June 4th, 2015. I want to take you to June 5th, 2015, okay? The next day, Friday.
Okay.
Okay. On that day, did there come an occasion where a representative from the Orlando Police Department came to your security office with a request to look at surveillance video?
Refresh my memory. On Friday,
Yes.
they may have. I wasn't there. I don't think on Friday.
Okay, was there a time that an Orlando Sentinel person did come and look at video? I mean, excuse me, or Orlando Police Department officer did come?
I provided OPD a video on Monday, I believe,
A video of what?
of the incident on Monday.
The incident, you're talking about the grainy video that the Orlando Sentinel ultimately
Yes,
produced?
sir.
Okay, and who requested that from you?
OPD.
Okay, on Monday?
I think what happened is they requested it earlier, and the security officers were there that weren't able to locate it. When I came in on Monday, I was able to find it and then provide it to OPD.
Were you working on Friday, June 5th?
I honestly don't remember that far back.
Do you recall having a conversation with me about a week ago?
Yes, over the phone, yes.
Yeah, and at that time, did you not tell me that you were present on June 5th?
Objection.
Basis.
Here's it. Asking about the conversation out.
Counsel approach, please.
Sir, do you ever recall saying before that you were working on June 5th, 2015?
No, sir, I don't remember that.
Okay, did you work, do you usually work on Fridays?
I do, but there was times where I may have left early or not been there that day.
Okay, so the fact is that as we sit here today, you don't recall one way or another why you were working June 5th, 2015?
Correct.
What you do know is that a representative from Orlando Police Department came in, you believe it was Monday, June 8th, and you looked at the video and you gave them a copy of the grainy video.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah. You just said that you gave it a Monday, the Monday after this, June 8th, to Orlando Police Department, correct?
I gave the video to OPD on Monday, yes.
Okay. Who came in and looked at the video and saw that?
Nobody looked at it there. I provided them a copy of it. I came in on my normal time in, which is 8 o'clock in the morning. They told me about the incident. I pulled it up the video, was able to locate it, and contacted our editorial folks as well as OPD and provided them with that.
Well, you understand that the Orlando Sentinel didn't produce the video on TV until June 10th?
That very well could have been.
Prior to coming here today, have you spoken to any police officers about this?
Sure.
Have you spoken to any representatives of the state attorney?
Other than this morning when I first got here.
Who did you speak with this morning?
I'm assuming she's a state's attorney.
And what did they ask you to tell you?
What I was going to be here testifying about.
Do you understand you're under subpoena for me? That I issued you a subpoena?
Yes, sir.
Did the state issue you a subpoena?
Yes, sir.
Is it both of them issued a subpoena?
Yes, sir.
Did they call you in their case?
This is the first time.
It's the same.
What else did you talk about?
That was it.
Where did you talk with them?
Outside the courthouse or outside the room in the conference room.
So tell me about the whole scenario. What time did you get here?
I was told to be here at 8:15. I got here at 7:30.
When you got here at 7:30, when did you meet with the state? What time?
A few minutes before 8.
And who'd you meet with first?
I only met with one person. I don't know her name.
The young lady here.
Yes, sir.
And where were you sitting when you met with her?
Outside the courtroom.
Okay. And what did you do? What did she do upon coming to meet with you? What did she say?
She asked me who my name was and if we would mind talking in the conference room.
Okay. You went in the conference room right up front here.
Yes, sir.
And what did you talk about?
She asked me what I was here for, and I told her that I was here to let the court know that I was going to be testifying about providing the video to OPD.
What else did she ask?
That was it.
So how long did the conversation take?
Less than a minute?
Okay. You didn't talk about any witnesses or what anybody else said?
No, sir.
Have you ever spoken to anybody from the state attorney's office before this morning?
No, sir.
Never spoken to anybody besides the people at OPD to produce this video?
No, sir.
I have no questions of this witness, Your
Any
Honor.
questions of the witness from the state?
Before we ask some questions, Judge, can we approach briefly?
Yes?
Your Honor, the state would ask the court to take judicial notice of the fact that June 4th, 2015 was a Thursday.
Any objection from the defense? Any objection from the defense?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right, the court will take judicial notice that June 4th, 2015 was a Thursday.
So just to be clear, it's Willingham, sir?
Yes, sir.
You didn't work on Friday, June 5th.
I'm not clear if I worked on Friday the 5th or not.
All right. And your recollection is when you looked for this video was the following Monday when you came back to work.
Correct.
Is that right?
Would have been, yes.
And you're the person that is most familiar with the camera system?
Yes, sir.
So somebody who stood in your place on Friday, if someone did, would have sort of not had your knowledge about the system.
Most likely not, no.
So they may not have known where to look for all the video. Is that fair?
Correct.
But when you with your knowledge of the situation looked, you were able to find some video that you believe might be relevant to this investigation.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you've never met me before, right?
No, sir.
And the first time you met Ms. Fallon was your 1-minute conversation out in the hallway?
Yes, sir.
Because you were called by the defense to be here this morning, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At any point, did Ms. Fallon ask you to say a specific thing?
Absolutely not.
Did she ever tell you you needed to say a certain thing?
Absolutely not.
You just showed up and reported what you knew, right?
Yes, sir.
And what you knew is that you didn't do anything with the Sergeant Gillespie on June 5th because you weren't at work, were you?
Correct.
No further questions.
Any redirect?
Good. So you just told us you don't know whether you were or were not at work on June 5th, Friday, correct?
I'm sorry, what?
You just said earlier you didn't know whether you were or were not at work on June 5th, as we said.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Who requested that you all of a sudden go to the security system and pull this video on June 8th? Who requested that from you?
The publisher of the newspaper asked me to double check.
Who was that?
Abido Kahaifa.
And how did that,
Abido Kahaifa.
and,
Hold on 1 second.
yes, you want to spell that?
If you could you please spell the first and last name for the court reporter?
I'd have to look it up on my phone, honestly. It's
Okay, if you could just say it again for the court reporter so she can phonetically spell it.
Kahaifa. I can look it up on my phone, it's real quick, but I just don't know the actual spelling of it.
That's fine.
So you went through and found this grainy video-ish stuff,
Yes, sir.
and you burned a disc,
Yes, sir.
and did you deliver it to OPD?
No, they came and picked it up.
Do you know who came and picked it up?
I do not know that person.
Okay. Did they come to your office and pick it up?
Yes, sir.
So as of June 8th, the OPD would have had a copy of this video?
I would think so, yes.
Well, you gave it to them, right?
Right.
That's all I have.
Members of the jury, do you have any questions of the witness? If so, please raise your hand. All right, I see no hands. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Lawler, is this a good time for a break? Okay. Members of the jury, we're going to take a recess. Please remember to leave your notepads on the chair as you exit. Please also remember to not discuss this case amongst yourselves or conduct any research of your own. All rise, please.
Jurors are exiting.
All right, we're going to take a 10-minute recess.